Good morning. I'm going to try this with the lights off. I think it gives a better view for you guys. Let me straighten up the camera just a little bit. So, last night, I think that helped. Last night, Valia delivered her babies, her piglets. I checked her at 8 p.m. and it didn't seem like much was happening. She was barely getting big on her backside, you know. Didn't look like any milk was dropping, anything like that. So I decided that we were going to check on her every 2 hours through the night. And the first check would be at 11 p.m. and that would be me. And then the guys would each take a turn and I'd check her at 7 in the morning. Well, Mark and I watched a program on the computer, and then I decided at 10 o'clock to go out and check on her. It's a good thing I did, because that girl tricked us. She had already delivered 2 piglets that were kind of dry and up near her belly, and then there was 2 other piglets that had just been born like a minute or 2 before, because they were still all wet and covered up and everything. So I stepped out of the barn toward the house a little bit, and I yelled at Mark to get the boys, Eric and Avicii, who were inside watching something on the DVD player, to come on out. And so they came out, and just the 1 or 2 minutes I was away from the barn, I got back in there and she delivered another one. So I grabbed 1 or 2 of them and cleaned them up and put them in the box. The guys got the other ones, and we were up with her till I think I sent Vici to bed after all the piglets had been born and we had done 1 feeding. So that was probably about 12:30 to 1 o'clock, sometime in there. And Eric and I stayed up and made sure that afterbirth was delivered, both of them, and that everything was going good with her. And so we headed to bed. I think I got into bed about 1:30. Finally got to sleep about 2. Takes me a little while to calm down. So anyway, that was kind of exciting. Today, the guys will have some rest time because Vici and a short got up at 3 o'clock for the feeding for the piglets, because when they're small we have to help them and make sure they don't get in under mama or things like that. So they did that at 3, and then Eric and I got up at 6:30. But she was really hungry because she hadn't eaten breakfast or dinner the day before, yesterday. I wish I would have known that, because that's another key indicator. I should have looked in her bin in the evening. I would have seen that it was full, but I didn't know about the breakfast. So anyway, she delivered really, really well. She has 13 piglets, and 6 of them are girls and 7 of them are boys, I believe. So kind of exciting. She did it in about 4 hours, which is good, because sometimes they can go 5, 6, 7, or 8. So it was kind of nice for us that we were able to get back in bed and go to sleep. But the guys are doing their daily chores now. Mark got up early and cooked breakfast, and now he's kind of resting a little bit. The guys are going to rest after they get their daily chores done, which is probably about right now. And they'll get about an hour and a half rest, although at 10 o'clock is the next piglet feeding. And then after the 11 o'clock break, where we sit down for tea and sweetbreads and stuff like that, then I'm going to go down to the cellar with the guys, and we're going to do an inventory of any canned food that we have from previous year. Sometimes the seal isn't that good, and we get a little bit of mold, so some of those we're going to pull out and get to the animals, probably the pigs, depending on what it is that's conserved. The guys have cleaned up the onions down there. It lasted us all through the winter, which was really great, and now we can go out into the garden and pick them as we need them. The garlic we needed more, and I planted 3 extra rows in the fall, so we'll see if that's enough or if I need to add a couple more rows of garlic. The guys here love to eat it raw. The same with onions when they eat. It's really good for the immune system. I can't eat it raw. And we also feed it to the homeless a lot of times. So while they're doing that, I'm taking advantage of the quiet time. I have some peach jam on the stove, which is just about ready. And I've got some jars in the oven that are being heated up and sterilized. And while that's happening, I'm cleaning some oranges and lemon. And I'm going to be doing orange lemon marmalade as another kind of jam and topping. They're imports, I think, but it's the season, so they're a lot cheaper now. It's a good time to make them. So I'm going to get that on the stove, and then probably I'm also going to pull out all the strawberries that we have frozen, and then get that jam going. And hopefully I'll get most of that closed today, maybe tomorrow, because of the piglets. 2 at a minimum are going to have to stay home from church, but we'll see. Some of the people in the city, they're going out to the villages and helping their family and those kind of things. So if enough of them are gone, then we may have church here. We'll see. But I'll get some more of that canning done. On Monday, I'm supposed to help at a language school and teach. We're talking about finances and how Americans do finances differently. And we'll get a lot of vocabulary and things in there. It's a good question and answer, and the students get a chance to speak with a native speaker. But I got to do some preparation for that today as well. Mark is going to be taking a look at the cement and seeing how it was set up from all the work that they did yesterday, and determining probably Monday they'll take the forms off. He was keeping it wet yesterday because it was kind of warm, but then we got some evening rain. And since Short was in here in the kitchen with me, Mark was helping the guys and carrying buckets of cement. So it's kind of a lot of manual labor, so he might just kind of hang out and rest today. I think after lunch, I'm going to have the guys bring in some squash, and I might start some squash jam as well. It's kind of easy to get all of this jam going at one time, so I've got all the supplies kind of setting out, and as soon as one pot is finished, clean it up and do another pot. Kind of lets me use a couple days to really focus on it. So we'll see how the time goes and how I get these going. But right now I'm just cleaning the peels off of the oranges. I'll do the same for the lemon, and then I'll cut up the oranges and the lemon and put it into a pot, and then I have to cut up, I think it is orange peels, and put it in there also. Of course, add some sugar, a little bit of lemon juice. The sugar and the lemon juice kind of help with the conserving or the canning process. But that's kind of what's going on. Since I was up early this morning with the feeding of the piglets, I let out the chickens, and I heard a Short over letting out the geese and the turkey ducks. I checked on the rabbits. We've got 2 mama rabbits who are getting ready to deliver on the 20th, the 21st, and the 22nd, and they're working on their nests. I've got a video, small short video that I'm going to post on that. But just life on the farm. Right now, we're not doing too much in the garden, just harvesting squash every couple of days. Tomatoes are getting ready to come in, but they're still green. We got to do a little weeding around the tomatoes. This last rain popped some up. We got the peppers weeded, and I believe the okra weeded. I need to thin the late broccoli. And we pulled up all the cucumbers and they were either diseased or they'd been affected by the extreme weather changes. We had really cold evenings, nights, and very hot days, and that's just kind of a killer. We're not sure if it's that or if it was a bug. I talked it over with Pastor Sergey, who's an agricultural specialist, and he kind of confirmed what I thought we needed to do, which is just pull them all up, burn them, because we don't want to put them on our compost if they do have the disease. And then we weeded and just dug a little bit and then replanted some seeds, because it's still early enough in the season that we can probably get some. Probably won't be enough for conserving, so we'll probably have to go to the bazaar near the train station and buy a couple 100 kilograms. I'm not sure how many pounds that is. I think it's like 200 to 300 pounds of them. Sometimes it's better to do them all at once like that, because I can get kind of a factory going, and I get guys washing them and one cutting the ends off, and I'm filling the jars and all that kind of stuff. But it can be tiring. You know, when you get the cucumbers out of your garden, you gather them for a couple days and then do a couple jars, which is kind of easier on you. It's shorter, but you also have to get out all the supplies and all that kind of stuff. Because we do so many, sometimes that factory process is a little bit better for me. But the beets are growing really good, the white beets for the animals. Some of them are already getting this big, so by the time we harvest them in late September, October, they're going to be huge, which is really good. Our potatoes are looking really good. The squash, of course, is coming in really good. The pumpkin over in one of our rented fields has got some little pumpkins on it, and we're getting ready to, there's quite a bit of grass that has grown up there. So we're going to take the guys over a couple days in a row, and they'll cut the grass with hand sickles, moving the vines out of the way, and then we'll throw down some fertilizer, which will really help the pumpkins as they produce their fruit. It's high in potassium. And so we'll do that to the back garden here too, where we have some pumpkins planted. But I think at Oleg's garden, we're renting, he wasn't able to maintain it too much. He's a taxi driver, so he wasn't home as much, and he doesn't have a wife, but he does have a young daughter. I don't think the garden was kept as well as it probably should have, and we've used it now, I think this is the 3rd year in a row for pumpkins. You know, just kind of as an afterthought. We weren't sure how the deal was going to work out, if he was going to let us do it for many years, or, you know, just 1 or 2 years, which is kind of a norm here sometimes. But it looks like he's going to let us use it for long term. So next year we're probably going to plant corn there, because with corn there's a specific spray that will kill all the weeds but not kill the corn. And then the year after that we'll do potatoes, because we can do the same thing, and that's what we've done with our grandmother, our Baba field. And it's really combated the grass and the weeds. Pretty effective process. So in our fields that aren't close to home, we have corn, sometimes we do potatoes, and we have the pumpkins. And then we keep everything else here close by. So last year we had corn there, this year we've got potatoes, and pumpkins will go there next year. Kind of rotate those main crops. And then here at the house is where we keep all the other stuff, the beets, which need a lot of maintenance in the very beginning, all the squash, because once it starts coming in we need to give it to the animals, and we eat it, of course. Although this year, like last year, we're having a problem with some bitter squash. When there's some extreme temperatures between night and day, and uneven watering, which we've had a lot of rain and then no rain for a week or so, and then a lot of rain, it can cause bitter squash. I was making up some squash pancakes the other day, and I had gotten maybe half of it cooked, and I took a bite of one because a piece fell off, and it was like, oh my gosh, it was so bitter, and realized I had tested the first couple ones, and then I think a short stepped in, and I didn't test the ones that he cleaned for me. So one of them was really bitter. So I had to throw the whole batch out. I was kind of frustrated yesterday evening. So if we do some of the squash jam today, depending on how many pots I've got available, then we're going to test every single squash because of, you know, the season and how some of them are coming up bitter. Not all of them, but some of them. So, but of course the peppers, the tomatoes, the cucumbers will be always in the same place now because of the trellises. But we like to keep them close so that we can maintain them, and they work really well. Each year it seems like we get better and better. This year we've improved on our beets in that process. Let's see, I need another bowl for the lemon. So we've gotten the corn down now really good. The potatoes, we could probably improve on them just a little bit now using the tractor and getting those processes done. Garlic and onion has been good for a while. Same with the tomatoes and the peppers. Just enough to kind of feed us and put stuff on the table, not for conserving. We still have to buy some for the conserving. Tomatoes, we'll see. One year I had almost enough, so I only bought maybe 100 kilograms from a lady in our village who raises them. And then other years I've had to buy 200 or 300 kilograms. Being out in the barn late at night and the hay that was being thrown down under the mama and everything kind of got my allergies and my asthma going. And I take my asthma medicine in the evening, right before I go to bed, so it helps me sleep and breathe easier when I sleep. So I didn't get that taken at my normal time, and then I was around all the hay. Oh, this lemon is tough. So I got a little bit of an asthma cough going on today. But anyway, so I'm going to finish up peeling these, and I'll cut them up and put them in a pot and put the other ingredients in there and get this orange lemon marmalade going. And I'll have to let you know how it's going to taste. It seems like it'll taste really good. I do have one more bag of oranges, so I think I'm going to just do an orange marmalade as well to use those up. We'll probably give the guys one or two. Try and give them fresh fruit through the summer more than we do during the winter because it's a little bit cheaper and we don't have as many guys. But just teaching them to eat healthy, you know. Here they like to eat apples and pears a lot. Our pear tree will produce a lot. We'll do some jam from that. And our apple trees will give us a few more apples this year. But they're still a year or two away. We've got the cables up and the poles up now for the full espalier process, which I'm really excited about. It takes longer for the trees to produce because you have to trim them a lot. But basically you've got 4 different cables and you train the branches on the cables and you don't let them get tall. So you don't have to use a ladder, but also they get sun on each side. So the flowers produce more, the fruit produces more, and you don't have to climb up a ladder to get it. You just pick it right off and you can see it. So and then it's beautiful. You can do all sorts of different patterns. I just did the straight 4 patterns. But it was started in England and France and some other European countries where it's a little bit colder, and they would do it up against a house or a wall to kind of give warmth to the tree. But we've got 3 rows out there. Hopefully this fall we're going to be adding another cherry, sweet cherry, sour cherry, maybe apricot. I wanted to do it this spring early, but with the quarantine, a lot of things were closed, and so we couldn't get the trees. So we'll do them in the fall or next spring. So I'll say goodbye so I can get this finished, and I think the peach jam is kind of steaming over there. It might be ready for me to conserve and pull the jars out. So I'm going to have to move the camera around. Let me know how you enjoy these.